Welcome everyone to Yoga Basics. Today you will need a strap and a block and possibly a chair. I'm going to show you a modification for twisted triangle. You can use your block for that. We usually use the chair, so if you do have a chair handy, go ahead and slide that up near your mat. All right, let's start by just taking a few moments to prepare the body. So sitting comfortably on the mat, maybe on some folded blankets or even on a block. And then legs can be folded or extended out in front of you. So begin by closing the eyes and just turning the attention inward. Just shutting out the busyness and chaos of the day. Taking a few moments to quiet the body. And then taking 2 deep cleansing breaths. So take a nice big inhale through the nose and exhale it all out by blowing or sighing it out. One more nice big inhale and exhale it all out. And then soften the muscles of the face. Relax the muscles of the neck and the shoulders. And then turn the attention to the breath. Notice the inhale. And notice the exhale. Then we'll begin a nice, even breathing, inhaling and exhaling to a count of 4. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. And just continue with this nice, even breathing. If at any time it makes you lightheaded or dizzy, just go back to your own normal breathing pattern. And then we also set an intention for each practice to help remind us why we are here. So that may be a benefit you would like to receive, or just an uplifting or a positive thought or a phrase. So think of an intention that you'd like to have for your practice today. And then with your next inhale, go ahead and lift your head and open your eyes. And if you do have your legs crossed and you want to switch them, go ahead and do that. And then we'll begin the warm-up by turning our heads to look out over your right shoulder. And coming back to center and turning to look out over the left. And back to center, dropping the chin to the chest. And then picking the chin up towards the ceiling and jutting that lower jaw out. And coming back to center and dropping the right ear to the right shoulder. And back to center and left ear to left shoulder. And back to center, extending the hands out in front, open and close the fingers. And then some wrist circles. And reverse. Good. Bringing the hands back to the lap. And then doing some shrugs. And then the next time you pick those shoulders up, roll them to the back. And bringing the shoulders back to neutral. And then extending the elbows out to the side, fingertips together or touching. And then without moving the torso, just lift and lower each elbow. So focusing on the back of the shoulder, the scapula, warming that up. Good. And then bringing the arms back down, take that right hand, bring it to the outside of the right hip, sweep the left arm up, and exhale, bend to the right. And coming back to center, switch arms, inhale and exhale to the left. And coming back to center, release the right arm. Take that left hand, place it on the right knee as we come into a twist. So inhale to lengthen the spine, and then exhale, bring the right arm around behind you as you turn and look to the right. And then release the twist back to center, switch hands, right hand on the left knee as you inhale again to lengthen, and exhale, turn and look to the left. Good, and then release back to center. And then if you had your legs crossed, go ahead and extend the legs and just shake those legs out a little bit. And then we'll warm up the knees and the thighs. So placing your hands behind the right thigh, pull the knee in and extend the leg. Good. Next time you pull it in, hold it there, point and flex the foot. And then some ankle circles. And reverse. Good, and then switch legs, so same thing on the left, just bending and extending. And then as you pull that knee in, hold it there, point and flex the foot. And some ankle circles. And reverse. Good. And then we'll come onto hands and knees for cat-cow. And if you would like a little padding on your knees and shins, then go ahead and open up your blankets. So as you come into hands and knees, just stacking the wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips. And we'll start with cow. So cow is a swaying of the back. With an inhale, you'll lift the chest and the sits bones, arching. And then exhale, press into your hands as you drop the chin to the chest and round the back for cat. And then inhale, back to cow. Exhale, into cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. And again, inhale. And exhale. Good. And then bringing the spine back to neutral, we're going to do a little core warm-up called bird dog. So it's an opposite hand and leg. So we'll start by extending the right hand. Just keep your fingertips on the mat. And then your left leg, and keep your toes on the floor. Then tighten the abdominals and lift. Hold for like a count of 2, bring them back to center, and then switch sides. But just pause before you lift to tighten the abdominals. Take your time. Remember, you can always break it down. If you feel a little unsteady here, just do your legs or just do the arms, and then you can put it together. Good. Let's do once more on each side. Good. Coming back to center and then coming into child's pose. So pushing those hips down, supporting the head, and just taking a few breaths. Good. And then extending those arms out in front of you, come back up to hands and knees. You're welcome to stay here for puppy pose, extending those arms out in front of you, and then pulling the shoulders down the back, dropping the chest down, and just staying here. Or coming into downward facing dog. So curling the toes, pressing into the hands, extending up. So either one, take a few breaths. If you're in downward facing dog, keep a little bend in the knees, and then you can begin to straighten one leg and then the other. But the important part is to continue to press into the hands, lengthen through the arms and the shoulders. Good. And then with your next exhale, come back down to hands and knees. So we're going to start with a warm-up pose on the mat. So it's a kneeling half moon pose. So as we're in hands and knees, we're going to shift the weight over to the left hand and the left knee. And then you're going to take the right leg, you're going to extend it behind you so your toes are on the floor. But as with the standing pose, we then want to turn to the right. So now your pelvis is facing forward to the right. Now you can bring that right arm up and just hold here, or see if you can lift that right leg. So similar to the standing pose, only we're now on our knee. Good. Continue to breathe. You're probably feeling that in those glutes. Good. And then exhale, bring that leg down, come back down to hands and knees. We'll try it on the other side. I'm going to turn myself around here so you can see me. So now you'll shift everything over to the right side. Extend that left leg. But the important thing is that you're turning. So now you're going to turn to the left and have the pelvis and torso facing to the left. And then you can keep your left toes on the floor if you'd like, or lift. Good. Continue to breathe. This takes some core work here too to keep your balance. Good. And then with the exhale, go ahead and come back down to hands and knees. Take just a couple of seconds back in child's pose. And then from here, we will come up to standing. If you would like to come back to hands and knees, step a foot forward and come up. That's one way. If you want to also fold up your blanket before you come up, go ahead and do that. And then I usually roll back onto the balls of my feet and come up this way. All right. So we'll start by standing at the top of the mat. I'm going to be in the middle so you can see me right now. And we'll start by standing in Tadasana, or mountain pose. So finding those four corners of the feet, distributing the weight between the balls of the feet, back to the heels, so that you can wiggle your toes. And then lifting up through the arches, tightening the front of the thighs, arms alongside the body, a few inches away from the palms facing each other. Lift and tighten the abdominals. Focus on the spine, lengthening up from the tailbone all the way up to the crown of the head. And then picking the shoulders up, rolling them down the back so the chest is lifted. Keeping the chin parallel to the floor as you gaze forward. And stacking the ears over the shoulders, so it may require pulling your head back a little bit. This is a great posture to practice at the wall. Good, so ears stay stacked over the shoulders, shoulders over the hips, hips over knees, and knees over ankles. And take a few breaths. Good. So we're going to come into chair pose, only we're going to add a little twist. I'm going to show you a modification for that. So if you would like, grab your blanket and have it nearby. So I'm going to show you both ways of doing the twist. All right, so you'll stay in Tadasana. Take a nice big inhale to lengthen. With your exhale, you're going to begin to bend the knees. Push the weight back in the hips, keeping the chest lifted. Now to twist, we're going to start by going to the right. Here are your options. You can take your left hand and you're going to place the forearm across the thighs. Now the important thing is to keep those knees in line with one another. And then I'm going to turn to the right. Keep my right hand on my right hip. So you'll want to push that left knee forward. You'll have to bring it back. An option here is to take your blanket, your folded blanket, place it on your thighs, then come forward and place your forearm on that as you turn. So either way, just continue to take a breath. Again, glance down, make sure your knees aren't going past your toes and that your knees are in line with one another. Good. And then come on back up. I'm just going to hold on to my blankets while we try it on the other side. Good. Take a nice big inhale. And then with the exhale, again, coming into the pose. As you bend the knees, you'll feel the weight shift into the heels. And then as you exhale, begin to turn to the left. Now bringing the right arm, forearm across the thighs. Again, you can use your blanket. Bring your left hand to the left hip as you turn, looking to the left. And continue to breathe. Good, and then release back to center. Go ahead and come on up. You can put your blanket to the side. And then go ahead and grab a block. And coming to the middle of the mat, go ahead and put your block to the right. So we're going to start with side angle pose, triangle pose, and then twisted triangle. If you like using the chair for triangle, then go ahead and grab your chair. I'll show you that both ways too. And you'll put the chair to the back of the right side of the mat. All right, and then have your block handy too, because you can use that also. All right, so facing forward on the long end of the mat, we'll start by widening our stance. So you want to go as wide as you safely can. And then we'll start by turning the right foot out. So doing this rotation here at that right hip, keeping the left foot facing forward, lining up the right heel with the instep of the left foot. We're going to start in side angle pose. So we'll want to bend that right knee, stack it right over the ankle, and then glance down and make sure that your knee is in line with your toes. And then lifting the torso up a little bit, inhale, bring the arms up. So it's a warrior two that we'll start in. With your exhale though, now we're going to lean to the right, turn the right palm up, place your forearm on your thigh. Or you can bring the block just to the pinky toe side of that right foot, and then you're going to sweep the left arm up. Now, if you have shoulder issues, you're always welcome to keep your hand on the hip. So you're either here with your block or here with the arm on the thigh, the forearm on the thigh. Good, and continue to breathe. Good, then with the inhale, go ahead and lift yourself back up. Go ahead and exhale, bring the arms down just for a second and kind of rest it out a little bit. Now, you're going to straighten that right leg because we're going to come into triangle. If you do want to use the chair when you come down, just make sure it's just behind that right leg. Or you may want to use your block again too. All right, inhale, bring the arms up. Right leg stays straight. Tighten the top of the right thigh. With your exhale, you're going to lean to the right. The weight will shift into that left hip. When you've gone as far as you can, you still have that left shoulder open. Then bring your hand down. Maybe it'll be on the chair. Maybe the block. Maybe it's your thigh, shin, or ankle. And then keeping the left shoulder and chest open, extend that left arm up, palm facing forward. Good, and continue to breathe. Good, and then with your next inhale, lift the torso back up. Exhale, bring the arms down, and then we'll shift over to the left side. So if you did use the chair, you're going to swing that around. If you used your block, bring that around. And then keeping the right foot facing forward now, turn that left foot out at 90 degrees. Line up the heel with the instep. And then we'll start by bending the left knee. Now, very important that you keep the knee in line with the toes. It's going to want to come forward. This knee is going to want to collapse forward. It's important that we have this external rotation. As you line that up, that knee with the toes, you'll probably see that right hip tends to come forward. That's okay. That's fine. From the waist up, though, you're going to face forward. Good. Bring the arms up. Take an inhale with your exhale. Turn the left palm up. Lean to the left. Again, forearm on the thigh or left hand on the block. Sweeping the right arm up or placing it on your hip. Focus on that right shoulder. Good. And continue to breathe. Good. So whatever modification works for you to help you come a little deeper into the pose, then you use that. Good, and breathing. Good, so with your next inhale, as you come up, you're going to straighten the left knee. With your exhale, then shift the weight towards the right. Lean to the left as far as you can. Now, here's your option, possibly bringing that left hand to the chair, bringing the right arm up, or left hand back to the block, or maybe the ankle, or maybe you're up here. That's fine too, because you're focusing on that right chest and shoulder right here. So if you feel yourself collapsing forward, then bring the torso up a little higher. Good. Continue to breathe. I like this analogy a lot. Imagine you're between two panes of glass. So your shoulders and your hips are in the same plane. So by opening up that right shoulder and chest, you're going to pull those shoulders back. Good. And then inhale, come on up. Exhale, bring the arms down. Go ahead and turn the left foot forward and then just a little heel-toe walk till you can step the legs together. All right, so now we're going to come into twisted triangle. Now we're going to come up to the short end of the mat. Bring your chair. Have the seat of the chair facing you. So I'll show you again both ways using the chair or the block. The block will be just in front of you. And you're going to stand facing the chair. So we're going to start by turning to the right. So shift the weight into the right leg. You're going to bend the left knee. As you step that left foot back, you're going to press the heel down. So in twisted triangle, like the other two poses, we have turned the pelvis, and this one you're going to keep the hips facing forward. So it isn't as big a stance, as wide a stance, I should say. All right, so you're still facing the chair. The heels are somewhat in a straight line, possibly the left leg is out a little bit. You're going to lift the torso with your inhale. With the exhale, bend from the hip. So you keep the legs straight. As you come forward, your left hand will come on the chair those left lower ribs are going to begin to turn to the right. So right hand can be on your hip or extended over your head. So you're either here. If you are a little more flexible with your hamstrings, then the block will come to the big toe side of that right foot, and then the left hand will go on the block as you turn. Now, either way, pull your inner thighs towards each other. Good. And breathe. Good. And then with the exhale, bring that right arm down. Bend the right knee as you lift yourself back up and step that left foot forward. I'm going to go to the other side. You obviously can stay where you are. All right. Another thing you can do, if it's even too much to just bring that hand to the chair, take your block and put it on your chair. So when you step back and go to turn, this will give you a little more height in the torso. So if you found even this was a little much, you felt it in that front leg, put a block there and see if that helps. Okay? All right. So again, facing the seat of the chair, the weight now will go into the left leg. You're going to step that right leg back, press the heel down, straighten the left leg. Make sure that's straight, tighten the quadricep. Inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, bend from the hip. As you begin to come forward, then turn those lower right ribs to the left. So hand can be on the block, hand can be on the chair, hand can be on the block on the floor. Good. And then left hand is on the waist. Good. And continue to breathe. Good. And then with your exhale, go ahead and bring that left arm down, bend the knee as you lift. Good. All right, let's go ahead and put the chair to the side. We're going to come back down on the mat. So go ahead and come down to a seated position. And we're going to come into a side plank. So we'll start by coming onto our right side, placing the elbow right underneath the shoulder. And I'll show you, come up a little bit on the mat here, the two options. So my arm is at this 90 degrees. My knees are bent. Now, I can either keep my knees on the mat and then press into that forearm as I lift just my knees. You place your hand on the hip. If you have that left hand on the mat, try not to collapse forward. So you're just placing it there for balance. The other option is straightening the legs. Again, now you're pressing, but you're lifting the hips and the knees. Good. And then coming down. And then, so those are your two options. I was ready to go to the other side already. All right, so let's take a couple of seconds here. Look at my watch. We're going to shoot for 30 seconds. Take a break when you need to. All right, here we go. Ready? Begin. Ten more seconds. Good. And then exhale, release, and we'll try it on the other side. If this is particularly hard for you, try it against the wall. Bring your mat up against the wall, keep the knees bent, use the wall for support on that upper back. That will help you as you build strength. All right, so same thing now on the other side. Again, knees are bent or straight. All right, here we go, begin. So even just keeping the knees on the back, you're building a lot of strength here. Try to keep that torso lifted. About 10 more seconds. Good. And release. Good. All right, we're going to come onto our belly from here. I'm going to actually come on this side. So rolling onto your belly, we're going to start in Sphynx. So the same position that we were in for side plank, we're going to have those elbows right underneath the shoulders. And then the hands in line with the elbows. And then as you're here, try not to collapse down. So press into the forearms. Keep the chest lifted. Just gazing forward. So you can see where the name Sphynx came from. Good. Now, start by bending the right knee. Flex your foot, and then turn and look to the left. Good. And then release, turn back to center, try it on the other side. Good. Then the left knee, turn and look to the right. Good. And then coming back to center. So we're going to come into something called side bow. If it's too much with that flexion of the knee, then just come back to doing this, the Sphynx with the bend and looking the opposite direction. Otherwise, we're going to roll over on the right side, bend the left knee, and see if you can grab that left foot on the inside. And then you want to roll back over onto your pelvis. So you don't want to be leaning on that one side. Or you know what? I'm sorry, grab the outside of that foot. Good. And then take a moment here just to pause. Otherwise, you just have the knee bent. Good. So this is called half bow. And then release. Try it on the other side. So leaning over on the left, bend the right knee, bring that right hand around to the outside of the foot, holding the top of the foot. Try to get your weight centered again. And breathe. So you're going to feel this in that low back. It's just a little more of a back bend than Sphynx was. Good. And release. Good. All right. So from here, we'll come into child's pose. So curl the toes. Walk those hands back just underneath the shoulders so that you can press into them and bring yourself up. This time, widen your knees to the width of the mat. Big toes are together. And then come into child's pose. Good. And then lifting the torso, bring the knees together. Sweep your legs to the side, coming back to a seated position. And go ahead and grab your strap. So we're going to do a forward fold. We'll start by extending the right leg. Let me back up a little bit here so you can see me. Now you have two options with the left leg. You can bend the knee, slide the sole of the left foot to the inside of the right leg, and stay here, what we call Vasisthasana. Or if you roll a little bit onto your right side, you can bend the left leg back, but you'll have to be able to shift your weight back. You can sit on a blanket if you'd like. That may also help. So depending on the flexibility in your knee, you either have that left leg bent with the sole of the foot on the inside, or you're here with that left foot to the outside of the left hip. But the important thing is that your weight is centered. And then placing the strap around the ball of the foot, walking those hands down, pulling the shoulders down the back, tighten the top of the right thigh. So it's a forward bend, but we're not rounding forward. We're going to keep that back straight. You should just feel a nice stretch in that hamstring. If you're a little more flexible, again, coming forward, but keeping the chest lifted. Watch that low back. And continue to breathe. Good, and then go ahead and inhale, lift the torso, release your strap, and we'll try it on the other side. So again, you're either here with that right foot, which is fine, or tucking it next to that right hip. Good. Distributing the weight on both sits bones, taking your strap across the ball of the foot, that extended leg, walking your hands down the strap, but then pulling the shoulders down the back. Keep the back straight as you come forward and breathe. Good, and then go ahead with your inhale, lift the torso and release the strap. And then releasing that right leg, we're going to come into pigeon pose. So again, I'm going to show you the full pose and then I'm going to show you the modification. We've done it a number of times, so I want you to pick which one is best for you. So the full pose is starting on hands and knees. I usually do have a blanket nearby for that. So let's see, I'll put my blanket on it this way. Coming into hands and knees, shift the weight over to the left, pick that right leg up, and then you want to bring it in front of you. Bring the right foot towards the left wrist. And then I'm going to extend my left leg behind me, and I usually slide that blanket just under my right hip. And then I lower myself down here. Now, you may have to have that right foot more tucked underneath you. You could try that too. So it's just going to depend on the flexibility in your hip and your knee. If that's too much for you, then do not try that. Do not hurt yourself. You're going to lower yourself down to the mat, and you're going to do it on your back by crossing that right foot over the left thigh, picking that left foot up, and bringing the leg in towards you. You're stretching those same muscles. So go ahead and pick which way. I'm going to stay up here because we haven't done it this way in a while. So again, as I pick that right foot up, I'll bring the right foot up towards the left wrist and then extend my left leg. I usually always use a blanket under that hip. So just go ahead either way, continue to breathe. We'll stay here about 20 seconds or so. Good. And then go ahead and release that right side. We'll try it on the other side. So if you're on your back, just bring that right foot down and switch legs. If you're here, again, I've got my blanket ready. I'll come to hands and knees. This time bring the left foot forward and then just slide my right foot back. And you'll notice one hip is probably a little tighter than the other, so you may be able to extend a little bit farther. All right, and holding the pose here. And breathing. Good. And then if you chose to do pigeon on your back, just stay there on your back. If not, go ahead and bring yourself up, grab whatever you need for Savasana, and then lower yourself down onto the mat, on your back. And then extending the legs out in front of you, arms alongside the body, palms facing up. And we'll just take a few moments for our final relaxation. So, as you make yourself comfortable, go ahead and close the eyes. And we'll bring the attention back to the breath. Notice the inhale. And notice the exhale. Feel the breath as it enters the nostrils and flows into the lungs. Focus on the rib cage as it expands with each inhale and contracts with each exhale. And then focus on the physical body. Relax all the muscles from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head. Release any tension or tightness. And then focus on the mind. Release any thoughts, worries, or anxieties. With your next inhale, think the word so. And with the exhale, think the word hum, which means I am, or use any other words or a phrase that has meaning to you. Give yourself just a few moments to completely let go. Begin to deepen your breath. And then start moving your fingers and toes. Then the wrists and the ankles. And when you're ready, bending both knees and rolling onto your right side in a fetal position. And just taking a few breaths here. And then using your left hand to support you, pushing yourself back up into a seated position. And while keeping the body relaxed and the eyes closed for another moment, focus on the intention that you set at the beginning of the practice. And then we'll take one more deep cleansing breath. So take a nice big inhale. And exhale it all out. And then go ahead and lift your head and open your eyes. Thank you all so much for joining me. Namaste.